Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yes, this is the right channel. You clicked on a Wooden Railway Edward video. And now that might be a little confusing, as you can see in front of you, here is a Lego box, but as you can probably also notice, it is a Lego train. And that is going to be a little bit of a theme for today's video. And as you can see from the title, this is another installment of my quasi-new series, I guess you could call it, Flea Market Finds. And like I mentioned in the previous part of this ongoing series, I guess you could say, the first video in that series, this is not necessarily all going to be from a flea market. Rather, it's just an amalgamation of different purchases I've made that don't really fit into an unboxing video. So some of these things I did purchase from that said flea market, but also some things I got online or in other retailers. So with that said, I would like to dive back into talking about this Lego box. And now, you might not know this, I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but in addition to Thomas and Friends and trains in general, one of my favorite interests is Lego. I'd say it's probably number 2. And sometimes in my life, it's even become number 1. And in addition to my Thomas collection, I have a huge Lego collection. I actually just started up a Rebrickable account, and in addition to my brick set page, I think in total I have over 100,000 Lego parts. And I have them all sorted away in the same room that I keep all my Thomas stuff. So it definitely is a very intriguing and enjoyable hobby for me, and I especially like building MOCs. I'm not too much into collecting Lego sets and displaying them. However, when I saw this Lego set a couple years ago, I knew that it was one that I could not pass up. So even though this is not the standard Wooden Railway Edward video that you might all expect, I think it will be interesting to dive into looking at this Lego set for this episode of Flea Market Finds. And with that said, I think it's time to take a closer look at the packaging here. And of course, we've never looked at Lego packaging, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how this turns out with me reviewing it. You can see that this is a part of the Lego Creator brand. And on the box, I think it's in a couple different languages here. You have English, obviously. You have French, I'm assuming, and Spanish. So I am not exactly remembering where I purchased this. I know it was on eBay. I can't remember if it was from an international seller. I know that they do have this set available on the Lego website. However, I think it was only in euros that you could purchase it, and I wasn't comfortable with doing the conversion at that time. So I just decided I'll pay a little bit more on eBay for it, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. As you can see, I could not wait for this video. I really wanted to open this up, and I did actually build it. And in a couple moments, you'll see that this depiction on the box here of getting 2 of them, well, I actually went through with that. So we'll get into that in a second. But you can see on the back of the packaging here, I guess it's kind of similar to Thomas Wooden Railway. I'm kind of thinking of the wood packaging, how you have the model right here and you have the scenery surrounding the model. Of course, you have some 3D bushes, I guess. It kind of looks like it was done in Blender, but who am I to judge? And you can see the rails right there. Obviously, those are not the actual Lego rails. And I actually do have a fair amount of the Lego rails. However, this is not compatible with those. This is actually 4 wide. I think those are made for 6 wide engines. And of course, I don't think the wheels would fit how they're configured here. Although maybe I could make a mock myself of expanding this model and making it fit on those standard Lego rails. Maybe that's a project for another day. However, on the front of the box, I guess we could also say that it's almost 300 pieces, and the official name of it is High Speed Train. So kind of generic, but I think it gets the point across. And you can see the box is a little bit creased right here, and I think that's just from shipping. It was just in a standard bag, I guess you could, I'm not really sure what you call those. It wasn't in a box. So I'm assuming during transport it got banged around a little bit. On the bottom right corner right here, you can see that is 36 centimeters, 14 inches long. So it's a little longer than a foot, which is pretty cool. And that's including this front part of the train where the engine is, and also the coach that it has behind it. And it is a little bit of a bummer that they only include these 2 cars for the engine, but however, as I mentioned, you can purchase another set, and they do accommodate if you want to make a complete train of at least 2 engines and 2 coaches. And of course, this is based on the high-speed trains of Europe, I'm assuming primarily. And actually, an interesting story with these that I'll get to in a moment, I actually had an experience to ride a high-speed train. It didn't look exactly like this, but actually in Europe, in Spain specifically, I rode a high-speed train. So I thought that was a really great experience. And I guess this is a good time to mention, and go back to the point, that I actually have 2 of these. And interestingly enough, this was purchased in Europe. This was purchased from a Lego store in Spain when I was on vacation in Spain. And it's kind of interesting. You see this box right here doesn't really have anything. It has the Lego creator and it's 7+ and the set number. But besides that, it doesn't have any of this, the high-speed train name, the piece count, and the building toy that's under that. And the only thing that I can assume is that because this is maybe the European style packaging, they don't want to go through the trouble of creating all these different languages, printing on the box, and they want to just accommodate these for a general release in Europe. That's really the only thing I can think of, because I just think it's really weird that there's nothing on the box. It looks kind of bare. And if we turn to the back of the box, I think it's mostly the same. Yeah, it's mostly the same on the back of the box. But then also on the top, you can see there's a lot of writing on the top on this release right here, the first box I got. And on this side of the box right here on the top, you can see even with this depiction of the accurate size of the Lego brick, it's 1:1. And it doesn't say anything like actual size, like it says here in French and in Spanish. And of course, I guess the more I think about it, it makes sense that most things in Europe actually, for example, the road signs, are very primitive in their display, as they want to cater to being accessible to all different regions, languages, peoples, of course, since it's such a multitude of different cultures and countries packed into a very small space. So I guess that's a little lesson from Wooden Railway Edward. I guess we worked our way through that. So I guess that's the best explanation I can offer. If that's totally wrong, you can let me know in the comments below. I know some of my viewers are from Europe, so if you want to chime in about the discussion, that'd be great. Even on the bottom right here, you can see they're a little bit different. And interestingly, this one doesn't have as much as this one does on the bottom. And on the bottom of this box, here it is in a multitude of different languages. And you can also see that it's 2022 when this Lego set was released. So it's a couple years old now. However, they haven't retired the set yet, so that's good. And who knows, maybe someday I can purchase more of these and build a longer train. Speaking of the train, I think it's finally time to take a look at the actual Lego model. I have built both of these models right here. And I guess before we do that, we could take a quick look at the instruction booklet. That comes from the one I bought at the Lego store in Spain. And actually, I think the price for both of these, the one I bought in Spain was a little bit cheaper, obviously. Even with the euro conversion, it was still pretty much the same price that you'd get in the United States. So it was great that I had the opportunity to actually buy it in person. Here you can see, here's a leftover sticker sheet. And you can see there is some stickers left over. There's a 1 and a 2. And that is because, as I mentioned before, they accommodate it. So you can see I'll bring in one of the trains right here. I just have to put them together correctly. And this is actually the one that I bought second. This is the one I bought in Spain. And you can see right here that it is a very nice model, obviously. But also it says 4 and 3. And of course on this one, it depicts the 1 and obviously the 2. So if we bring in the second model, which was actually the first one that I purchased, a little confusing, I know, but just to make a point, here is 1 and 2. So what Lego was envisioning is if you bought 2 of these models, you could couple them up together like this, and then you could have yourself a little high-speed train. Of course, the one I rode in Spain, I think had around 40 separate coaches, so this doesn't really capture that very well. However, it's still a nice representation in a more toy-like Lego scale of a train such as this. So you can see there's these two engines facing the opposite direction, and then there's the two coaches. And of course they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, which makes for a nice cohesion, and I think it's a good attention to detail on Lego's part. I think it was a really great inclusion that they did that, because otherwise you could just leave the stickers off, I guess, or maybe even make custom stickers. And although it doesn't go past 4, I think the idea was a very good one. And who knows, I could probably whip together something to make a 5, 6. Because I think I actually have enough Lego pieces to replicate this model. I could just use the instructions and from my own part collection, make something up with these cars. Maybe even do it in a different livery, a different color scheme. So that would be pretty cool. But also I think it's imperative to look at the actual Lego model. We've been talking about everything else except the actual model. So we'll start off with this one, which is the 1 and 2 labeled 1. And it was a great building experience. It was pretty quick. I think I finished this in about 10 minutes. And of course I've had a lot of experience, but also I think it was an enjoyable building experience, just how the parts went together and the design of it all, some very clever building techniques, but also is pretty simplistic. So it's easy for different age ranges, different experiences of Lego builders. And I'll focus the camera in a little bit so we can take a closer look at this model. You can see on the side here, I'm not too much a big fan of stickers. I'd really rather there just be prints, but I did have to put a couple stickers on, and I've gotten so much better at putting stickers on in the last couple years. I remember I could look back. I know specifically I have a Toys R Us set that was a Lego set, and the stickers are all over the place, and some of them have peeled off just because I didn't put them on very well. So stickers are a little bit of a challenge for me even still, but I think I did a pretty good job here. And of course also stickers sometimes collect dust and hair, so you have to be careful about that. But there wasn't too many stickers in this set, and I think they do really add to the model, so I think they're an okay inclusion. You can see the wheels right here are these smaller wheels, and they are with this piece right here that connects them, and as I mentioned, it is a 4 wide model. On the front right here, you can see it's the front of the train, it slopes down, and I think that's also a pretty nice design. If we go to the other side here, it's pretty much the same. I do like how they use these pieces. I mainly associate them with the gold bars that Lego uses them for in the gold coloring, but they use them for door details, which I think looks pretty great. And also on the bottom right here, I think it's very smooth and clean how they use these pieces right here to make the undercarriage of the train. I think that looks pretty good. And also there's a little bit of a suggestion of how there'd be an electric cable above here that the train would be powered on. And on the back right here, there's also a suggestion of the connection. And of course, it just uses a ball and joint connection, or I guess it's called a ball and socket, connection. And that just couples up like that, and it's a pretty good range of movement, all things considered. Oops, the camera wouldn't focus, sorry. It's a pretty good range of motion left to right, and it's easy to couple, easy to uncouple, so that's pretty nice. Moving on to this one, I guess we could say, you can see that it is pretty much the same. It has the same color scheme. It's just a little bit more simple, obviously, and it's symmetrical on both sides as there's no engine part. And I think, once again, this is very nice. You can see the window detailing. Of course, there's no interior detailing. That wouldn't suffice, or rather, should I say, be needed for a model like this. However, I think that the size of the windows makes it so you don't really need it. Moving on to the other model right here, it's obviously the same, so there's not too much to say. Although I will point out that here is where you put on the stickers for 4 and 3 right here. You have the 4 and the 3, so then you'd couple these up like this, and then it honestly makes a pretty great train. And Lego, I think, does make rails. I think back to the Miners series. They used to have 4 wide rails. I think you could put mine carts on them. So I think that's actually pretty expensive. I think it's retired now, so that would be hard to get my hands on. However, I think that would also be pretty cool just to try to make a little loop for this train and have it run around. It is not powered, as you could probably guess, and I don't really know if it could be powered. I know that some people have made it so you can put make a powered engine that is 4 studs wide. However, it is pretty challenging, and I think it would be as for this. And of course now LEGO is using just the powered up, I think it's called, where it doesn't use the rails for electricity, but just uses the battery powered thing that you put in the train. So obviously that's not a factor here too. These rails aren't have metal on them, and the rails I only have were the ones that are plastic. So I think, side tangent aside, that's enough looking at this model. I think it's pretty great, and for the price, about $20 US, and in euros I think it was pretty much similar. I think it's a pretty great deal, and it's one of the better train-related LEGO sets, and also I have to commend it for being affordable. For a mini representation of a high-speed train, I think it does its job very well. And also, I'd just like to comment, I think it would be very beneficial for LEGO to keep making models such as this. You could even make a whole mini-series and creator of different vehicles. I know they've made a motorcycle and a moped off the top of my head that are very affordable. They're like $15. But also, what if they made a steam train? I know I have a LEGO Creator steam train that's much smaller and not very detailed. It might have even been a polybag. But if they made something similar to this for $20, say you got a steam engine with a tender, I think that would sell exceptionally well. You could even do a diesel. You could even do a diesel maybe with this and give it a car to pull around. I think that would instantly sell and fly off the shelves, not just for people interested in trains, but just mini models like that of real-life vehicles. And with that said, I think we'll move on to our next thing, but we're not done with LEGO in this video, as speaking of steam engines, we actually have something really awesome to look at later. So stay tuned for that, but let's move on to our next item. So I think that last item was pretty fun to look at. It's cool to kind of branch out a little bit. I know with the last video, we looked at model trains, and now we're looking at LEGO. I think it's good to diversify the channel a little bit and maybe target some different audiences, or even the same audience who have similar shared interest that I also do. However, we're going back to our roots a little bit for this item, and although it's not technically Thomas Wooden Railway, I'd say that it's quote-unquote Thomas Wooden Railway adjacent. So if we take a look at this item right here, you can see that it is the lumber loading wagon, and it is an item from BRIO. And I know just off the top of my head, I have seen many different Thomas Wooden Railway creators use this item in various videos, such as remakes, series, or just anything like that. Specifically, I can name Enterprising Engine 93. He was a user who heavily used this model in his videos. I mean, even today, he still uses it. And I just thought it's always been a pretty cool item in my opinion, and I thought it was time to finally purchase it. So they do sell this item at Barnes & Noble, and I actually had a gift card to there. However, I didn't spend it on this item because it was actually cheaper to purchase through Amazon. And similar, actually, to the LEGO Creator high-speed train, I have another one of these coming in the mail soon that I purchased from eBay for even cheaper. So even though it's on shelves at Barnes & Noble, I think it was better to spend my money on other things and leave this to purchase online. And I guess that's sort of the problem with these brick and mortar stores, just the convenience and cheapness of purchasing these items online kind of takes the luster out of buying it off store shelves. But that's not really related to this item, and speaking of this item, I'm very excited to unpackage it. It's been a long time since I've unpackaged a wooden railway item in the original packaging. I know I've done a lot of those videos where I take a look at 15 new in-box Thomas Wooden Railway items. I've been building up a collection of a couple new in-box things that I can take a look at one day, but I've kind of laid back on purchasing all those items, so I've been very much itching to open something like this. And if we look on the back right here, you can see that it has the BRIO world packaging, and you can see that it's a little representation, I guess in CGI, of all the different things you can buy in the BRIO line. And speaking of BRIO, I think that BRIO is a good alternative to Thomas & Friends. Of course, they made some Thomas & Friends items in the late 90s. I know they made the Steam Team, they made some narrow gauge engines, and I think maybe someone like Daisy and the Magic Railroad characters. However, the line really never took off that much, and when Learning Curve purchased the exclusive rights to make the wooden merchandise, that kind of killed the Thomas & Friends BRIO merchandise. However, I think BRIO has its quirks, and I think it's kind of endearing being separate from Thomas Wooden Railway and some other competing wooden railway brands such as Imaginarium or Melissa and Doug. And I think BRIO has really stuck out a good identity and a unique identity, I guess I could say. And also, I think it's important to mention that BRIO has been around for an extremely long time. I think at least 50 years now that BRIO has been making wooden railway models. And I think that also adds to the specialness of purchasing an item like this, that it's still a company that makes toys like this, that it's still chugging along. Of course, we can't really say the same of a company like Mattel. They're teetering on the brink of irrelevancy, at least in the Thomas & Friends realm. Of course, they have many different ventures of toys that are very successful, such as Barbie and of the like. However, with Thomas & Friends toys, it's the end of the tracks for them, no pun intended. And let's just take a look at this item. I've been talking for a long time, but it would be great to open this thing up. And I really haven't game planned this. I guess it has the similar flap on the bottom that some of the packaging, specifically from like 2010-11, they had that back tab that you could lift up. I think with Dodge, that was similar to the Dodge that I opened a couple years ago. And really, yeah, that was a couple years ago. That's crazy how time flies. I feel like I was just making that huge Thomas Wooden Railway unboxing video. However, as I said, you get busy with things. I think I mentioned that in one of the last videos, that time has been tight, so it's been hard to make these videos and find time to sit down and record these. But it's always great to get back into the swing of things, and especially with these new types of videos that I'm making, I think it's good to branch out a little bit and experiment a little bit as well. So I think I've figured this out. You just had to open up those 3 flaps, and honestly, that's great because that just flew out. That keeps the packaging intact, and that actually looks very nice. This is in this little plastic casing right here, and let me just zoom in on that, or rather, should I say focus on that a little bit. And on the bottom right here, it's just a little stand, and that's actually pretty cool. And I guess this is all recyclable, as you can see on the bottom right here. And I can't really remember if BRIO is... It's a European company. I can't remember if it's German or maybe English. I'm not really sure. On the back right here, it says made in Sweden. So maybe it's a Swedish company. I'm not really sure. I should probably look that up, but I'll let you know in the video somewhere, a little text blurb or something like that. So looking at this item, it is encompassing, I guess you could say, 3 different pieces if you count all of these logs as one. And there's really not that much to it. It's not that exciting of an item, but for what I'm going to use it for in videos and things like that, I think it's actually pretty cool. So let me just bring the camera down a little bit here so we can get a better look at this item. And you can see I brought out, finally, the clickety-clack track. I feel like it's been such a long time since I filmed with actual Thomas Wooden Railway track. Of course, in the last video, we didn't see a single wooden railway item, but here we are with this one, and I assure you in upcoming videos, we'll be getting back to wooden railway a little bit. So, back to this item, you can see that the top right here is plastic, and of course this is supposed to emulate a flatbed. And the reason why I like this item so much is because there's not really a comparable item in Thomas Wooden Railway. Of course you have something like the sawmill log car that you can see I actually have here. Here's the sawmill log car, and it's also pretty cool that these are compatible with this. And that actually looks pretty good. And now, of course, the sawmill log car came with these pieces, or rather, should I say, the lumber loading depot, I think it's called, or the Sodor Lumber Company, or something like that. You know, the building where you turn the lever and then the things drop out. I have it with me, but it's way back in my destinations, and I just put them all back on the shelf, so I don't feel like pulling that out. But I think I do have a couple of the logs along with that one. And actually, I was able to get some of the logs. Here you can see them. They're pretty simplistic. This one looks like a dog chewed on it a little bit, or maybe even a kid. I don't know. But that's kind of funny. But these actually, I think, are they just a little too big? Okay, this one isn't. Why is this one? This one's I guess I could always sand it down. That would be kind of sacrilegious, but that's always an option, I guess. But at least this one fits in, and that's a little disappointing this one doesn't. But as you can see, it's pretty much compatible, and these came with the aforementioned item that I was talking about, the destination, like the Sodor Lumber Company or whatever it's called. There was many different iterations of it, and you can see you can stack these on here, and they're pretty much the same. And that's another reason why I wanted this item, as because except for the wheels, which are a little bit different, of course, you can see the standard design for Thomas Wooden Railway wheels on the sawmill log car. It's kind of a peculiar design, as this middle part sticks out a lot. But these wheels are a little bit different. You can see that they're plastic, and then they have a little metal part in the middle. And of course, on the bottom right here for these items, I guess we'd call it, that have the two separate bogies, it has the attachment right here. And I'm not really sure why they do that. On Wooden Railway, there's a screw down here, and I guess well, actually, now that I look at it, I never actually noticed this. That's kind of embarrassing. But there's a rod coming down from the base of this, if you could see it right there, and that stops it from turning all the way, turning 360. So on this one, they don't really do the rod. Instead, they just do this hook down here, which is interesting, and it's a very big signifier of a BRIO item. But I think the contrast between the green and then the gray wheels actually looks pretty good. And if you put this with other Thomas Wooden Railway items, or I shouldn't say other, I should say just Thomas Wooden Railway items in general, I think it pretty much blends in. And I think that this is a pretty great item. You can see that the logs right here have a magnet, so someone like Cranky or another crane or something like that could pick these up. And I really like the compatibility and usefulness of an item like this, as you'd see this in the background of countless Thomas and Friends episodes, of course. And I'm just really glad to have it in my collection for a couple years now. As I've been saying, I've really wanted it. So to finally purchase it, I think I bought it for like $14 on Amazon. I think it's a pretty good purchase. And I'm not exactly sure, as I said, when this was released. It must be an old tooling, right? I think it maybe early 2010s is when they released this item, but it's been very useful in different other people's videos, and hopefully in my videos as well, I can use it a little bit and spice up the rolling stock on my quote-unquote Island of Sodor, or sets, I guess you could say. So let's move on to the next items, which are not necessarily trains, but I think still something interesting for someone interested in model collecting. As promised, you can see this is definitely not a train, it is a truck, and I'm not exactly sure if these really relate to my channel that much. I guess it kind of falls under the umbrella of collectibles, and especially collectible models, which is kind of a general association you can make with my channel. Of course, I collect the toys, the Thomas Wooden Railway toys, but also you've seen I've recently gotten into model trains, so I think this fits okay enough into the new thematic direction of my channel, looking at all these different interests related to models and collecting and trains that I've developed recently. And I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with showing off some of these items and straying away from a strictly and rigid Thomas Wooden Railway focused channel, you know? I think it would be good to branch out and reach out to a different audience, and as I mentioned before, an overlapping audience, as I think many of you might actually be interested in something like this. So you can see this is a scale model of a truck, and on the top right here you can also see that I purchased this for $5, and I actually have 2 more of these, but before we take a look at those, we'll take a look at this one's box. The boxes are pretty much the same, so we'll just look at one box and then obviously look at all the different items. You can see right here it was originally priced, or at least sale price, at $25, and then it went on sale again for $12.50, and then I guess the ultimate sale right here is the $5 at the thrift store that I bought this. And once again, yes, this is not an item from a flea market, so we're 0 for 3 in that regard. However, as I mentioned, it's under the general umbrella of an item that doesn't really fit into the unboxing video, but an item that I recently purchased at a store or online or something like that. So on the back right here, you can see it says scale 1 to 43 and not suitable for children under 36 months. Luckily, I just cleared that age range, so I'm A-okay to play with this model. And on the bottom, it is Corgi Toys, and I guess Corgi is the model manufacturer. I'm not sure if they're a company who's still around anymore. I'm assuming they probably got bought out by someone like Hornby or someone of the like. But on the bottom right here, if I could find the bottom again, let's see, where is it? I guess it was the back. Or no, where's the bottom? Oh, it's, okay. I just don't have eyes, I guess. It says Great Britain, 1985, made in Great Britain. So the good old UK is where this was made and I guess marketed to. However, somehow it made it to the States here. And once again, I don't know if this was marketed or sold in the States. I wasn't born around the 80s, so I don't really have any information about that. However, seeing it in the store, I thought it was a pretty cool model. And like I mentioned, I bought 2 more of these in the packaging. And I believe this has obviously been taken out of the packaging, but it's pretty easy to get into. I guess you just open up this flap and we'll take a look at the model. There was one of them not in the packaging, but I had already spent the $12 on all of these, so I was thinking I'll probably leave that for someone else. And actually, there was a guy before me eyeing these and really studying them. So I was happy that he didn't actually buy them. But then we actually met up in the line later and he asked me about them. And I said, you know, they just kind of look cool. And I'm not really into model cars or anything like that. But as I said, they kind of look cool and like something you'd see on a model railway, maybe an O scale, I'm guessing, as these are a little bit too big for HO scale trains. But with that said, I think it's time to open this up. And I'll just open up the flap right here and let's dive in. So it has this part right here, okay. And like I said, I'm pretty sure these have been opened before, as it's pretty easy to open the box. And, okay, there's not too much to the packaging. Sorry, I'll try to get it all on frame. And here is the model. And it is a little bit dusty from being in that box, so I'll have to clean it up a little bit. But for what it's worth, for the $5 I paid, I think it is a pretty nice model. And I'm just thinking back, I said I paid $12 for these. I was thinking $4. The $4.99 kind of threw me off. I actually paid $15 for this, so all the better reason why I didn't want to purchase that 4th one. That would set me back a pretty penny. And for these that I'm not too interested in, but still kind of tangentially intrigued by, I think it was an okay purchase for $15. And looking online, I can find many comparisons. These probably go for a little bit more, I'm guessing, online. And right here it says Peak Friends Biscuits, and don't even ask. I don't know what that means. That's an interesting name for a company. And you can see this is a truck. Obviously, in the UK, they'd call this a lorry. And I'm not exactly sure, once again, not really a car buff, what era this is depicting. I'm guessing probably 40s and 50s, just based on, you know, model trains and people are interested in that era. I really couldn't. All I know, you know, a modern car wouldn't fit in that era, and this probably doesn't look like a modern car. So that's the best I can give you. On the bottom right here, it says Made in Great Britain, and it says Corgi models, and it is very cold to the touch. It feels great in the hands. It's pretty hefty, and there's not many plastic bits on it. But there is a fair amount of detailing. On the grill up here, you can see there's these little lights attached. And let's see, what does it say on the front? I thought it had words. I guess not. I guess there is some writing on there, but it's too small for me to I think I see Croft at the end. I'm not sure what the first word says. But if we take a look at the side of this model, as we did before, you can see the printing is very nice with how it's done. And on the back right here, there's a depiction of opening doors that you could have. And the wheels, of course, are very nice. And how this moves around is actually pretty great. And honestly, I'm thinking maybe I could use this if I did a scene where it didn't really depict anything besides the models. It's kind of hard with how I film because you can see that there's this border right here which kind of gives scale. So if I brought in someone like, and I just have him on hand, don't ask, someone like Smudger right here, you can see that it doesn't really fit scale-wise, as you can see Smudger right here, and then I bring in this truck, and you can see the scale doesn't really fit. But hopefully I can incorporate these somehow into a video. And besides that, they can probably just sit on a shelf somewhere and look nice, which isn't really a bad thing. And let's take a look at the next one here. So this one says 1929 Thornycroft van, and of course now I'm looking a little bit dumb, as I said these were from the 40s and 50s. Obviously this says 1929, so let's see what the last one says. The last one just says Mack truck, so we'll get to that one in a second. But maybe these aren't from all the same era. However, these two look pretty much the same. I think even maybe they're the same tooling pretty much, except the wheels are a little bit different, and this back part is a little bit different as well. Of course, with the branding of the truck. So, if we open this up, once again, we can see that it's pretty easy to get into it. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. Struggling a little bit with this. Oh, here we go. And this one's also a little bit dusty. However, this one actually, I feel like it well, I guess they weigh both the same. I was going to say this one weighs a little bit more, but I don't really think so. I think maybe I was just imagining things a little bit. So, if we take a look at this one, you can see that it has a nice dark green shade of paint right there, and it says McFarlane Lang & Co.'s Biscuits. So that one is a little bit more coherent compared to Peak Frames Biscuits. But on the front right here, it has basically the same design, and even with the windows and the hood and the grill right there. The wheels are different, and honestly, I think I prefer these wheels a little bit more. They look a little bit more interesting. And on the back right here, it once again has the design of doors, and it's the same on this side. The bottom, the undercarriage of this vehicle is basically the same as the other one. However, I am impressed really how much these models still shine from being made in the 80s. They still look pretty good. And you can see they still have that glimmer. You can see on the camera how the light's hitting it. And I think for what these are, they're pretty much in new condition, which is pretty great that I got these for $5 each. Bringing in the last one right here, this one's probably the most diverse of these models. We'll slide these off for a second, and slide that box off for a second. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the boxes. They kind of take up a lot of space, and I'm not sure really how much value they add to these models. I'll have to research into it a little bit more, but I'm still kind of debating on if to keep the boxes or not. Because still, even if you have these models displayed without the boxes, they still look pretty good. And you can pick them up and look at the smaller details, which is always a plus. So, back to this one. This one is very rambunctious and flamboyant in its color design. These ones kind of follow a green color scheme, but this one is red, and this is selling mustard, but it also is kind of mustard colored, so maybe that's a little bit of a purposeful design choice rather than a coincidence. But opening this one up, the box is a little bit destroyed on this one, and the box I think is a little bit different. This feels like it's a little bit different than the other ones. Let's see, does it have a year on the box? This one is 1986, so yeah, I think this is maybe a year newer than those other ones, if I remember correctly. So maybe this is a little bit different. And you can see the design is pretty cool. It has Golden's mustard, ready to use, and it pure, delicious, wholesome, and sold by grocers and I don't know what that word is. I've never dealers. So this one is actually probably my favorite. Looking at it, it just looks pretty cool. But also, I'd like to mention that on this vehicle, they're driving on the left side. These two, they're driving on the right side. So that makes me believe that this isn't a UK model. Rather, it is a US model, or maybe German by that word. I don't know. That word kind of looks German. Don't quote me on that. Don't at me, as they always say. But on the bottom right here, once again, it says Corgi, made in Britain. But really, the undercarriage of this is really nice. That red color, all that detailing, putting that red on the bottom. This is a really nice model, actually. And really is my favorite. This one looks really great. Even on the back right here, you can see it still has some nice detailing. And like I mentioned, I feel like this is from a different era and country compared to these ones, as it just is different, obviously, with driving on the left-hand side. And we're, at least with the steering wheel, driving on the right-hand side, but with the steering wheel on the left. And as you can see, it has a nice foot plate here. You can still see the undercarriage of the pipes and the detailing right there. And on the front right here, you can see it has a little emblem and the lights right there. And really, this is a really nice model. I really like this. And all three of these, honestly, are very nice. And of course, this isn't really the normal content you'd see from me looking at these. But I'll just say it once again, these are very professional and well done models. And for the $5 each that I spent on them, $15 in total, I think that it was a fair purchase and a purchase that was worthy of the money that I spent. So I don't think I have really much more to say on these. I'll display them, not sure yet, with the box or without. We'll have to see. But if you ever came to my studio right here, you definitely see these on display, and I'll enjoy looking at these for the time to come. So let's move on to the next item. And finally, this video is going to live up to its name, as we're going to actually look at things that I purchased at the flea market. And this was from the trip to the flea market a week after my initial visit. And after that inaugural visit, I had a little bit more of a game plan and knew what I wanted to buy. I knew the layout of the different buildings and also what the sellers were offering. So it was a pretty quick trip in and out. And during that trip, while I also got these items that we'll take a look at, I also got some different odds and ends of different things that I thought were cool and not necessarily related. I think those model cars are the farthest we're going to stray from the Thomas Wooden Railway branding of this YouTube channel. So, with that said, you can obviously see the model train tracks in front of you. And actually, one of the great things about that trip to the flea market is that the model train section that I talked about before, with the nice seller, he was able to sell to me some track so I could finally complete a loop. Of course, when I went to that rummage sale a couple videos ago that I talked about, that rummage sale that day, I also went to the flea market for the first time. The storyline's a little bit confusing. But regardless, at that rummage sale where I purchased that cardboard construction kit of those buildings for a model train set, that came with a little bit of track. But at this flea market vendor, I was able to purchase some more track. I think he ended up selling it to me for $50 per piece, which I thought was a pretty fair deal for this track, which is fairly old. I think most of the track is from Tyco. I think that's where most of the track is from. However, when I was just looking at it, actually, it's kind of interesting. Some of it says made in Austria. I actually found one that says made in Yugoslavia. So that's kind of a relic of the past there. As someone who's very interested in history, that's a pretty cool piece of track to have, with the made in Yugoslavia name on the bottom, of course. And that's actually something I'll hold on to and mark to know which one it is, because that's actually pretty interesting. And some of this track isn't very well cleaned. I've had a little bit of trouble with getting the rolling stock to flow and ride smoothly on the track. And I've tried to clean it with different things like rubbing alcohol and with a special grade of sandpaper, and it's worked okay. I'm still trying to find the best method that personally works for me with what I'm trying to do. Mostly I'll have these going on carpet, and really the only thing I need now is an engine and a source of power, a controller to move the engine around. So now I actually have enough track to make a full loop, and I have some more rolling stock actually, which is what we'll take a look at in a second. So I just really need a locomotive, and I'm hoping to purchase one for pretty cheap. I don't really care which locomotive, preferably a diesel, but it could be from any era, any company, any quality. I just really want something that will pull the cars around. And speaking of cars, we'll bring in a tanker car, and this tanker car is very nice compared to the other one that I had. It is a little bit different. You can see that it is silver instead of the black color of the previous one. On the side right here, it says Sinclair. And once again, I'm not really sure if that's a real company or not, or if it's just something for the sake of being a brand on this item. And it has some information on the sides. And on the other side right here, it's the same thing. It's symmetrical, but it is on a very nice base right here, similar to the last tanker that we took a look at. And it has the separately fitted ladder and handrails, which are both metal, which is very nice. On the bottom right here, let's see, what does that say? I believe this is Varney on the bottom, which I don't really know what that is, but maybe that's the company who made this. It does have a nice detailing of this little sign right here on this end of the tanker, and fell over. On this side, it has the little brake wheel, I'm guessing what that is, and that's also separately fitted. So that's very nice. You can see it is a little bit dusty. I have to go through and clean that up a little bit like I did with the other ones. And after that video, I deep cleaned all those different models, and they actually turned out looking very nice. Like the Ertl models that I took a look at are sparkling. The model trains I cleaned up a little bit, took the dust off, kept some of the weathering because I thought it was cool, but they look much better. And it has the same kind of coupling right there. So we'll put that off to the side, and let's take a look at a different variation and something that I don't have yet in model train, which is sort of this low rider car. I'm not really sure what you call it, but you can see here it's depicted carrying coal. And I also thought this was cool because it says Reading. And of course the Reading Railroad was in Pennsylvania, and of course it's related to Strasburg, which has very personal connections to me and good memories. So this is why I really wanted to purchase this specific one. And going through all the different, they had so many different types of rolling stock and different models. I tried to find quality models while also being interesting and diverse. So that's why I selected these three models that I did. And of course the second one right here is very interesting. So you can see it has a ladder that's molded with the piece, but that's fine. It has rivet detailing on the side right here along with the Reading name. It has some information. It has the nice coal right here. I'm not sure if you can take that out. Probably not. That's probably just a part of the model. But it looks realistic enough, so I'm not complaining. On the side right here, it has a separately fitted wheel. And once again, it's the same on this side. On the bottom, there's not too much different. It's the same pretty much as the other ones. And let's see, the wheels I think are plastic. Let's see, I didn't really talk about these ones. These ones are also plastic. So I guess, and these have the springs. I forgot to mention that. These springs that actually work. This one, the springs don't work. I think they're pretty much for decoration, and the wheels are plastic. So that's not too much of a big problem. It is pretty light compared to the other items, the box cars that I took a look at last time. And the quality is still pretty high though, so I'm happy with that. And let's take a look at the last one, which is another tanker that's pretty much silver. It's a little bit more of a muted gray, I guess you could say. And it is a little bit different compared to the other tankers. It has the Ethel, I'll call it, I guess, Corporation, New York City. And it has some nice detailing right here. I thought this was actually pretty cool. On the side right here, it has a separately fitted ladder with separately fitted hand railing. On the top right here, it has a little platform where someone could stand, and these separately fitted rails that are metal. And on the bottom, it has the same kind of carriage that holds this item like the other ones do, although there is some nice detailing right here that's never really going to be seen. So it's really nice that they include something like that. It has plastic wheels once again, but I think this time, maybe I lied. I don't think the springs work, which is a little bit of a shame. And compared to the other items, like I said, with the boxcar and the other, like the tanker and stuff, it's kind of a shame that these have the plastic wheels. However, like I said, I purchased these for pretty cheap. I think they were $5 each. So for what they're worth, I think that's pretty good. So let's couple these up together. Not too much more to say about these. This time I only purchased these 3, as I thought I probably had enough rolling stock to start off with. And so from that guy, I purchased these rails and these pieces of rolling stock. So I thought that was a pretty good trip that I made getting these, and I'm sort of slowly building my way up to having a complete starter or beginner model railway collection. And I guess you could say bare essentials for even having an operating model railway. So I think we'll take these off the screen now. They were very nice, and I'm glad to add them to the other existing rolling stock that I have. And let's take a look at something else model train related, which is harkening back a little bit to something we took a look at in the last flea market finds video. I failed to mention this yet, but if you want to get a snack, a drink, a 5-course meal, by all means be my guest, because even I know that these videos can get very, very long, and sometimes even tedious to sit through. And even me right here, I had to stop recording for a little bit and get some water because my voice is getting very tired from talking so much. Even editing the last flea market finds video, believe it or not, I cut out 1/5 of the total initial runtime of that video, and it still ends up being one of the longest videos on my channel ever. And trust me, that took a long time to edit and upload onto YouTube, and probably equally as long for you to sit through and watch that whole thing. Hopefully this video will be a little bit shorter, but my point still stands. If you want to get a form of nourishment throughout this whole thing, be my guest. So we'll take a look at something, as I mentioned before, that is related to model trains. You can see it is something from, let's see, what is the company here? I had it on the tip of my tongue, but now I lost it. Lifelike Products. Okay, you can see it on the bottom right there. And it is H.O. Scenics, Street and Highway, and it claims to be hand-painted. So these are road signs, and this is new in the box. The packaging is a little bit torn right here, however, these are all new. And as I said, it claims to be hand-painted, so we'll take a closer look at that. But here are different road signs, like a turn sign, a curving road sign. You have like an intersection, a merge, and here on the bottom, different signs, like, let's see if the camera will focus, like stop ahead, slow to 30 miles per hour, merging traffic, school crossing. You have signs up here like keep right, you have a stop sign, you have a freeway entrance. So these are all pretty cool signs, and they're to the scale of HO. I'm not sure what this sticker up here means, if that means like $10. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I'd pay $10 for this. I actually purchased this, oh my gosh, it's like doing acrobatics here. I purchased this from the same flea market that I've been talking about, and this was actually a different trip. I think about a month and a half later that I purchased these, and that just goes to show how long I've been sitting on these items. And actually, I'll spill the beans a little bit here. That first time I went to the flea market was like mid-March. So yes, it's been a really long time since I've been sitting on these videos. I apologize. As I said before in that video when I filmed it, I've just been really busy. But we're finally getting to the backlog of these, so I'm happy for that. And I'm not sure if I want to open these. I think I'm going to keep it sealed for right now, which I know is a little bit of a cop-out, but I don't really have any use for them right now. I mean, definitely for a video, I could use these with the characters like Birdie, or if I have a road shot or something like that. but they are pretty cool. And who knows, if I ever have an HO scale railway or railroad, interchangeable words, I could definitely use it for that. I definitely want to incorporate some streets with some buildings and something like that. So that's definitely a possibility, and I am very happy to have these. I think I paid around $5 for these, which I thought wasn't bad. So we'll move these off to the side, and trust me, there's a couple more things we have to take a look at. Let's take a look at this box next, which is rubber banded up. And this box is pretty cool, and it has 40 on it, which once again, I don't really think that's the price, because this doesn't really scream $40 to me. I also bought this for $5, and on the front right here, it has Faller B145, and it has a nice picture of a model railroad, which looks extremely enticing. I mean, just look at the detail in that, especially this diesel right there. That's so cool. I really wish I had that. And on the top right here, it says made in Germany, and let's see, it has a bunch of German words. So yeah, you're not gonna catch me trying to pronounce those. And this is also for HO scale, as you can see right there. So let's take the rubber band off. I've never opened this before, so this will be kind of a treat. And as you can see, oh, well, okay. So it's one where you actually construct the model. And let's see, I'm just gonna take these out carefully. I'm not even exactly sure what this is. It just kind of had interesting packaging, so I purchased it. And I believe, yeah, it was like some kind of tank thing. I guess maybe it's a filling station or something like that. Kind of like a water tower in Thomas Wynne Railway. And I know I always bring full circle to Thomas Wynne Railway. I always have to have that as my comparison point. But this actually looks pretty cool. This is all in German here. And let's see, what does this say? So here's some stickers. Not sure if those work anymore. That's pretty old. And let's see, here's the instruction manual. And that just basically shows you how to construct this model, which I definitely will be doing at some point. I don't think I ever saw a year on this box. I could probably look it up online just based on the name of it and stuff like that. So if I find that out, I'll put that somewhere in the video, as I mentioned before, a text blurb or something like that. So let's put this all back in the box. You can see it's just different plastic pieces. And I've always been fascinated, like stuff like this. I think back to the series. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. I'm a huge fan of James May when he was on Top Gear. I like the other characters on Top Gear too, like Jeremy and stuff like that. But James May was always my favorite. And actually in the 2010s, he made a series that aired in the UK, and I believe it was called Toy Stories. And the episode about Airfix is what I really think about when I think about like these plastic construction kits where you have to pull the parts together and make these. And I guess it's kind of similar to that wooden train model I took a look at. However, I think it will probably be a little bit easier to work with plastic. I'm not sure if you have to glue the parts together or if they just kind of fit together. That'll be a learning curve for me, but we'll figure that out when we come to it. And who knows, maybe if I finish building that, I can show it off on YouTube, maybe on the YouTube community page or something like that. The next item we're going to be taking a look at is from Atlas, who is a very well-known HO scale brand, and I'm not sure if they still exist either. Don't quote me on that, but I think maybe they were bought out by someone, who knows, probably someone like Bachman or something. But this is a station platform kit that comes in 2 sections, and I think that this is also pretty cool. It says made in the USA right here, and I guess Atlas came from Hillside, New Jersey, as you can see on the box right there. And it is a station platform kit, as I mentioned before, 707, and the box is pretty standard. It's kind of interesting, all these boxes have nothing on the back right here, and this one also just opens up. I paid $6 for this one, so, a huge price increase from these two, but I'm pretty happy with it, as I actually did peek inside this one when I purchased it, just to see if all the pieces were there. And here is the instruction kit, or rather should I say instruction manual. The kit is still inside the box. And let's see, does it say a year? 1963. Okay, so this is actually pretty old. That's pretty cool. So this one has also probably never been built. As you can see, it's still all on the section right here, I guess, where you twist all the pieces out and build it. And you can see here's the roof right here. Oh, I was scared for a second. I didn't see the both sections of the roof. And I think this will be kind of similar to that Plasticville station that I took a look at in the first flea market finds. That has been very useful. I've used it for a couple things, filming and stuff like that, and it's been very nice on the layout. Or should I say sets, because I don't really have a layout. Speaking of layouts, a little tangent. Hopefully I'll make a layout video someday. I want to make another one. I've collected some more destinations and a little bit more track, so I think I could make a better layout. But back to this. This is a pretty cool item, and once again, I'll have to build this and show it off somehow. Once again, just like the front of these is so enticing. You have the Santa Fe train right there, and just like the platform with these people, and just the illustration is very, very nice. And it really attracts you and pulls you into purchasing items like this. And I can't even imagine the feeling of like seeing these on store shelves now, or not nowadays. I mean, I guess you could buy these at somewhere like Hobby Lobby. I don't have one near me, but what I was really talking about is like back in the day, you could see these at a store on a shelf or something like that, and just be able to purchase these back in the day would be pretty cool. This one is a little bit different. This one is made by Bachman Plasticville, so maybe that's where the other station platform came from. And this one is actually new in the package. You can see it still has the plastic wrap surrounding it. So I'm not sure if I want to open this up. You know, it's kind of a debate back and forth. The reason why I picked this one up is because I thought that the schoolhouse looked pretty cool. And if I ever want to make a remake of something like Chickens to School, I thought that would be a great, you know, kind of model to use for that. It's kind of a similar building design, I guess. However, I don't know if I want to open it up. You know, it's a real back and forth, like I said. Part of me really wants to open it up and build it, but the other part's like, you don't really need it right now, so why not just keep it in the packaging? On the bottom, let's see, does it say a date? Nah, it doesn't say a date. On the side right here, you can see a remnant of a sticker when this was in stores. And honestly, I don't know how that guy really got this. He had tons of boxes, trust me, of different model kits in the box and also model buildings outside of the box. And you can see that I was turning to the back. I should talk about the back for a second. So the back, you can see some HO scale designs, and I mean, that's so awesome. You can see here the track inspection vehicles, the bridge, the hand car. I mean, these are so cool. Even these trucks right here. That's just so amazing. Even the trolley, like, I named everything on that. But just seeing that is so cool, as I mentioned. Imagine being in person to, like, live this. That would be so cool. I mean, it's still equally awesome to purchase these things now. The last box we'll take a look at is another Plasticville box. And this one is also from Bachman. However, it appears to be a little bit older than the other one, as it still says Bachman Bros on the side, which is kind of cool. And this is an over-the-track signal, which is pretty cool. And let's see, the original Plastic Village Snap Fit No Glue. Okay, so I guess these don't need glue. Maybe that's my question answered. And this one, as I mentioned, is pretty cool. Looking on the inside of it right here, you can see that it has many different things in here. And even in addition, oh wow, okay. So I didn't know this ahead of time, but this just doesn't have the crossing. This has a lot of stuff in here. Okay, wow. I wasn't expecting this. So you can see it has like a street light right here, which is pretty cool. And it has the little wires, so I feel like I could actually connect this to a controller or something, and maybe this would light up. That's cool. You see there's another one right here, which is awesome. And there's more of them. Wow, okay. I was not expecting this, but this is a very pleasant surprise. So maybe this doesn't come with the well, it'd be a little bit of a bummer if it didn't come with this. But I think it just comes with these parts, which is kind of cool. Once again, I didn't open this up because I thought it just, you know, it felt like it just came with that one thing. Maybe I guess I should have. But here, you know, here's a street lamp, which is cool, and it has the little signal right there. or rather, should I say street sign? I don't know why I said signal. I guess I was looking at the signal box when I said that. And let's see, focus. There you can see what that says right there. And this is a Tyco. Is this like a little controller here? I'm not really sure what that is, but you know, it's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff in here. Here's a cross signal. That's cool. And oh, look, here's some like power lines with the lights on them. That's cool. Another signal right here. This over the, I guess this is like another signal thing. Another power line. These things, which I'm not really sure what they are. Oh, look. Okay, that's awesome. Look at that airport sign. That's so cool. And I guess these all work, like, these all work probably light up, right? Okay, this is metal. Okay, some more street lamps. Here's another one. It says Union Ave. Another one. I cannot begin to tell you what that is. I have no idea. Like a little, not sure what that is either. And some more street lamps. So that was not what I expected. And, well, I forgot about this. There's actually some more stuff that was in the box. You can see right here is another thing right here. It's like a little light bulb still in the packaging. You can see there's this thing, which is like some wires still in the packaging. And in a little plastic baggie right here, you can see here's a sign that lights up. And this is a Coca-Cola sign, which, wow, that's amazing. And you can hear my, like, that's so cool. Because that's like something you'd really see in real life. And it's so interesting that they were actually able to license out the Coca-Cola brand for a model train thing like this. So I think, like, if you get a controller, you can hook this up to the controller along with the wires for, you know, powering the track. So that's one of the first things I'll definitely do with that controller when I get it, is try to hook this up, because that's so awesome. And even like into the background of a Thomas video, that would look cool, because, you know, Thomas is supposed to be realistic. I feel like Coca-Cola, that would vibe well in the background, and even really fit the time era too. But yeah, that's really awesome. So that was a pleasant surprise. Definitely not what I was expecting out of that box. But, you know, that was a good thing to end with. And, I mean, that came with a hefty amount of stuff, and I only paid $5 for that. That was the same price as these other things right here. I think the most expensive one, as I said, was the one I paid $6 for. So, for about, like, $25 that I spent on all of these, that was worth it. That was pretty awesome. Like, I don't really know how I'll power all of these, but it's cool that I got all of them. And I think I will be keeping these boxes just because they're vintage and they are pretty cool to have. And I'll just put the boxes in storage and try to assemble these models and maybe use them for my videos, especially like the station platform, and even this thing probably I can use. These right here, I'm not really sure how I'll incorporate those, but I'll find a way. And of course the schoolhouse, I'm not sure if I'll open as of yet. And this right here, these miscellaneous things that are in this box, I'll definitely find use for. If not, just test out and see if they work and get a little bit of enjoyment out of seeing them light up, if they even do. So with that said, I think it's time to move on to the final thing that we'll be taking a look at, and trust me, it will be quick. So this video hopefully will be a little bit shorter than the first installment. And finally, we've made it to our final item. And excuse that little break there where we had some coherency with items that were actually flea market finds. We're back to breaking the rules, as this item in front of you was not from a flea market, rather it was purchased online, specifically eBay. And this item, I actually just noticed, of course it is a Lego set, I should mention that, but you can see that there is nothing on this side. So this was purchased before I took my trip to Spain, and now I have the knowledge that in Europe, the boxes, at least from what I know, what my first-hand experience has been, they don't have that writing on there. So that makes sense because this was purchased from Europe, That's why it took a long time to come, and that's why the box is a little bit shaken up. As you can see, there's some creases and stuff like that. This, once again, just came in one of those packages that was not a box, but just kind of formed to the shape of this, kind of like an Amazon package, if you know what I mean. And that's kind of a dumb idea, in my opinion, for international shipping, but I digress. It still is interesting that you can see the consistency there, that there is no writing except for the set number and the age range on the box. And now, of course, this is another Lego train, and this marks my second, or third technically if you count all 3 sets, of Lego trains that I have. And I have been eyeing this set for years and years. And let's just actually quickly see what year this set was released. 2020, okay. And that doesn't really seem right to me. I feel like it was actually released a little earlier than that. But, 40th anniversary, so I guess that makes sense. And let's see, what does this say? Components made in Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, China, and Czech Republic. Now, I actually didn't know about the China bit. I didn't know they had Chinese Lego factories. But I did actually know about the Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, and Czech Republic. If you look online, specifically YouTube, you can see videos of all the different factories. And I'm not really actually sure about that Chinese one. But, it's interesting that they use all these different parts and are able to sort them all with pretty much perfect accuracy. Of course, sometimes there's mistakes. But sort these all into Lego sets and ship these out on a mass scale. You can see that there's the retro Lego logo right there, which is awesome. It's the Lego system logo with these different colors right here. You get a classic minifigure and, of course, the classic train design. And if I believe correctly, this train was originally featured in a set, and that set was, I'm not sure if that was the first Lego train. Once again, I should probably do my research before making these videos. But regardless, it's 40 years of Lego trains in 2020. So now, it's a couple years past. And this Lego set is actually retired now, which is a little bit of a bummer because it's so cool. But in addition to being a display piece, this item is actually able to work on the actual rails. Instead of being like the 4-wide train that this one is, this one has the proper wheels and can go on the standard Lego track, which is a big milestone for me personally, as I have, as I mentioned, a lot of Lego track. I think I have at least 4 different sets that encompass the different parts of the Lego track, the switches, curves, straights, all of that. However, I've never had a locomotive, and now I do. But to kind of burst your bubble here, we're not going to be opening this train in this video. As you can hear, I haven't opened the box yet. We are actually going to be doing a separate video taking a look at this, sort of a Lego review, which is going to be a first for my channel. However, I think it will be an interesting direction for my channel to take and a worthy contender for an actual video. So stay tuned for that. That will probably be coming the video after this, or maybe a couple videos after this video releases. So this is kind of a little teaser for that. But I did want to talk about this in this video just to kind of highlight this item and how cool it is, because it's just a set I've always had on my bucket list, and to finally get it, it's just awesome. And I mean, just look how it looks on the box. I mean, I can't wait to have it physically in person, because just from the box, the simplistic yet, endearing design of it is just really interesting. And I'll be very excited to see how it feels running on the track, the Lego track that I have. Of course, it is not a powered model. However, I'm sure you could convert it to powered, which would be an interesting endeavor. However, I think I'll just be content with, at least for a little bit, having this on my shelf and admiring the 40 years of Lego trains. And I will definitely be keeping this box, as it is just such a great packaging design, with the design right here of the white, the logo, the Lego system, the original logo, and I just think it's a really awesome item and release in general for Lego. And I'm not sure if I'll ever get any more Lego trains. I mean, eventually probably I will, but they're just so expensive that I feel like, honestly, it would probably be easier just to buy the parts to make a Lego train from Bricklink or something like that. So maybe that's something I could embark on someday. But for right now, as a starter for my Lego train collection, I'm very happy to have this item. So with that said, I think it's time to do another wrap up and a little overview of all the items we took a look at in today's episode of Flea Market Finds. And we've made it to the end of another very long video. And to close things off here, similar to last time, I just want to give an encompassing shot of all of the different things that I showed off in this video. And this time, it is an extremely diverse range of things. You have that BRIO item, those in-the-box model plastic kits, the new pieces of rolling stock, the track, the Lego, and of course, those model cars that I took a look at, the Corgi Classics, we'll say. And I think I will keep the boxes to those Corgi trucks. I just think it would be kind of cool to put them in the box and display them on a shelf. It would kind of give the vibe of a store or something like that, which has always interested me. You know, you look at those people who have tons of new in the box Thomas & Wayne Railway items, they get shelves and put them up on racks. I've always thought that's a pretty cool look. So maybe I'll try something out with that. Who knows? But to end off this video, I just want to thank you for watching and showing interest in this series. I didn't really know how people would respond to the last video, but you guys seem to enjoy it, so I'm very happy for that. And once again, I'm still on my journey to hopefully get monetized one day. That would be a really cool thing, and not even just so much for, you know, you'd be getting money from AdSense, but also it would just be cool to get extra funds to pour back into making videos and even improving the quality of said videos that I'm putting out. So I think it's time to part ways for now. Thank you for watching once again, and I will see you in the next video. Speaking of said videos, there'll be many things coming up, so stay tuned for that, and I hope you have a good day.